What's up, fam? Matthew Sewell here, your real estate plug, and we are back with another piece of the process. And in the previous video, we went over everything you need to know about buying a property. Today, we're gonna cover the offer, AKA purchase agreement. And in the next video, we're gonna go over the details of the inspection, so you know what to expect when inspecting. So first things first, we're gonna go over the most important parts of the purchase agreement. I'm gonna give you the short version for those of you with the attention span of a squirrel. And if you wanna stick around, I'm gonna give you the detailed version afterwards. We're gonna get into actually breaking down a purchase agreement. So let's go. So what you're looking at right now is a piece of my website, but it's also the most important parts of the purchase agreement. And I have them here in order of operations, the things that most people find most important, starting with the property description, ending with non-disclosures. So let's go. First up, we have the property description, and that's important for obvious reasons, but we're just gonna go through this list right now and then we'll talk about it afterwards. And then I'm actually gonna show you them on an offer. So first up is the property description. Next is the purchase price. Then we have financing terms, contingencies, closing costs, closing date, signatures, representations and warranties, escrow instructions, and last but not least, maybe least, is non-disclosures. So starting with the property description, this is your why. This is why you're buying the property. This is the most important part of this process. You're not gonna buy something that you don't wanna buy unless you wanna buy it and the numbers pencil out, but I digress. Property description is your why, and without having your why, you're probably not gonna be purchasing a property, right? So number one is property description, then purchase price. This is important because you don't wanna pay more than the property is worth. Most deals are made at the table, and the purchase price is a huge part of that. Also is, financing terms and closing costs, but those are later on the list. So purchase price, that's number one. And financing terms, these are important because if you're not paying cash for the property, you're gonna get a loan, you're gonna need to finance it. Whether or not it's from a lender, whether or not it's from the seller, there has to be financing terms. Number four is contingencies. Now these are conditions that have to be met in order for you to purchase the property. The most important contingencies are physical inspection contingency, the appraisal contingency, and the loan contingency. Contingencies are extremely important because we're saying we're willing to purchase the property under these conditions. Under the condition that I'm cool with the way that it is physically. I'm not gonna have to spend $1 million getting the foundation fixed or $500,000 replacing the roof. I may not want to. I don't wanna have to deal with that. Or it may not pencil out for me, right? Under the condition that it'll appraise for the purchase price, the lender isn't gonna give you more money than it's worth. So it has to appraise. But if you're paying cash for it, the appraisal contingency might not mean anything to you. Under the condition that we can get a loan for it. If you're getting a loan for it, you have to be able to get a loan for it, or you can't buy it, right? So contingencies are your safeguards in purchasing the property. That's very important. That should be top three, but the other three are also extremely important too. Closing costs. Most deals are made at the signing table, which is when it comes time to submit this offer and everybody agrees on it. So closing costs. There are customary closing costs. Sometimes times call for not customary things, which might be the seller paying your closing costs, you being willing to take care of all of the closing costs. It depends, but this is very important. Next is the closing date. Now, this is important, but also if you're getting a good deal, it doesn't really matter. So it depends, right? It depends on you. If you have to be out of your existing property in 30 days and you want to be in a new property and don't want to have to deal with getting a motel, hotel, or Holiday Inn, or staying at a friend's house, then this does matter to you. Signatures, obviously it can't be real if you don't sign the deal, right? So signatures are here, important. Representations and warranties. Now, this is important because you don't want to misrepresent something as a seller, right? Or that could be your ass. and it is up to you to disclose things. Some things, and those are the non-disclosures, we'll get there, but some things don't have to be disclosed, right? Such as if somebody died in the property over 3 years, then you don't have to disclose it, right? So warranties and representations. What are you representing? What are you warrantying as far as the property goes, right? Then we have escrow instructions, and these are important. Escrow is a very, very important part of the deal because they're the third party that makes sure everything is what it's supposed to be. That this owner is actually the owner, which kind of goes into representations, right? That this owner is who they say that they are, and the terms, conditions, everything is what it's supposed to be on paper. They get the money, you get the title. They just make sure they're a good third party, right? Good third person to have as a part of the deal. Then come the non-disclosures. And this is absolutely last on my list because as a buyer, as me representing you, the buyer, we are not dependent upon what they're going to disclose. It's nice, right? But we're not dependent. It's up to us to do our homework, to do our due diligence and make sure everything is what we expect it to be. Drive the block a couple of times. Make sure the house isn't haunted. You can never visit a property too much when going to purchase it, right? You can never visit a property too many times during the purchasing process. Go as many times as you can during the day, at night, weeknight, weekend day, weekend night. You want to see what the property is like as many times as you can, because you can go see it during the day, but on the weekends at night, it could be a completely different situation. So you can never see it too many times. And we're not dependent on what they're gonna disclose, right? We have to find out for ourselves. Sometimes they might not know. Sometimes they might be intentionally misrepresenting something, which is on us. And that's why we involve experts as a part of this process. So non-disclosures are the least important. It's nice, and by law, they do have to disclose some things, but sometimes if they haven't lived in the property, if it was an investment property, they might not know some things that we may easily see when spending 10 minutes, 15 minutes in the property, right? So it's up to us to do our due diligence. So that's the list. This is on my website for you to find if you ever, are wondering what's on here. And they're sectioned. It's literally sectioned off in the purchase agreement. So I'm going to show you that now. So this is the list. It's on my website. If you have any questions on this, hit me at any time. I'm happy to walk you through it. And I'm happy to go through an actual purchase agreement and submit a purchase agreement and help you find the home that you've been looking for, the one that matches your whys. All right, so let's go through the purchase agreement now. What we have right here is the very first page of the California Residential Purchase Agreement. And this is where the fun starts. Well, let's go. I'll show you where the real fun starts. But this also starts some fun. Some of the fun starts here. All right. This is a disclosure up first regarding the agency during this transaction. So this says who's the buyer's agent, who's the seller's agent, what they do, what their responsibilities are. First page. And again, with the most important parts of the purchase agreement in mind, there's some signatures here on this page. So this starts some of the fun. Then we've got some more legalese. And again, we're gonna go through all of this with a lawyer because I want you to be fully informed what you're signing, either before you're signing or while you're signing it. So stay tuned for that. Then comes another advisory, which this is saying you can't discriminate, right? If you're selling the property, we can't discriminate against people for these reasons. Some of the things we can discriminate for, which you shouldn't be, I mean, you want somebody qualified to purchase the property, but we shouldn't be discriminating if they're, Christian or Jewish or black, white, yellow, whatever it is, right? So this is an advisory. Some more jargon. Here's a representation, possible representation of more than one buyer or seller disclosure. There's a lot of disclosures throughout this agreement, and this is another one of them, and some more signatures. Wire fraud and electronic funds transfer advisory. Scamming is real in every industry, and it is important to keep watch for scams, emails, all that stuff. I don't know how they do it, but they do it, so you gotta be mindful. And here is where the rest of the fun starts. This is the most important page, single-handedly, of the transaction, right? We've got property description on here. We've got purchase price on here. We got close of escrow date on here. We've got finance terms on here, and we got some signatures, right? So this is where all the fun starts. Property description has to be a real address, right? Somebody's got to find it. It's got to be a legal description, right? So there's an address and there's usually a parcel number. And I don't like to take all the fun away from the seller's agent. I like to leave them some fun too, so sometimes I'll let them put in the parcel number. And if you don't recognize this address, it's probably for good reason. This is Ronald Reagan's old Sacramento residence, and it's listed at 4.6 mil, and it's been on the market for some time, so I'm throwing an offer of 4 mil. And down here, close of escrow, 21 days. That's about average, right? You can go faster. You can do 14 days. If you're going cash, you could do 7. If you're Larry David, you could do 4, right? It's possible to move faster or slower. If you want to take your time, you can do 30 days. If you're doing a 203K, 45 days is common, right? It all depends on you and your situation, how fast or slow you want to move, right? So close of escrow dates right there. If you're an agent, here is something to be mindful of, right? Here's where your information goes, your name, your company's name, your brokerage's name, and license numbers right here. I usually also let the seller put their information in here because that's their information. I don't want to mix it up, right? Then I got to redo it. They got to send me an addendum. I just let them do it. It's easiest. Here is an initial deposit. And this is a part of the finance terms, right? This is a very important part. Earnest money deposit, this is usually 1% of the purchase price, and this is the first monies to usually come out of your pocket, right? Goes into escrow. I don't recommend purchasing a property without going through escrow unless you have an attorney. And even then, I mean, the attorney can act as a third party, right? So there's that. In some states, they act as escrow. So initial deposit, first thing that comes out, that's important. Then you have right here, and I think I need to move myself. Let's move me over here. Then you have the down payment, right? This is what 40 plus 560, 600 G's. This would be 15% of this purchase price here. And there's some more terms down here. Let's see if I can pull this up. Yep, we can do that. Yep, so the entire purchase price is down here. So this page is the most fun. It's got all the terms on there. Then here's some more allocation of cost, advisories, loan terms. Here's where a loan term would be stated or removed. Appraisal contingency, right? We talked about contingency, that's here. Here are your escrow and title fees, who's gonna pay what. And again, there are customary ways of doing this. There are also non-customary ways. At the end of the day, this is an agreement. And as long as both parties agree, you can do whatever you want. Hey, I'm the seller and I'm willing to take care of all of your closing costs. Hey, I'm the buyer and I'm already getting a really good deal on this. Let me take care of these closing costs and I'm gonna close in 7 days, right? Oh, great, thank you. Who pays what, right? We're gonna split these escrow fees. You take that, I'll take this. Then there are closing and possession. I want this property on the date of close at this time. Here's some more legalese, legal writing. And on most of these pages, you'll be initialing, right? Initial down here, buyer and seller initial. Again, signatures, one of the most important parts. Then we've got condition of property, title investing, seller's right to cancel. Here's another contingency, right? Buyer has 10 days, and that's the physical inspection. You got 10 days to find out all the things that you want to find out about the property. Representative capacity, right? Representations and warranties, that's on here. Dispute resolution, some more initials, signatures. Remedies for buyer's breach of contract. What are you gonna do? If you breach a contract, they usually wanna keep your earnest money deposit. So there's that. That's why it's important to make sure that you're sure and follow the timelines. Here's some definitions if you didn't know what some of these words mean. And let me move myself over here. It's like I'm floating. That's cool. Here's some more definitions. Expiration of offer. This is important, right? It's usually by default 3 days. If you want to play aggressively, you could say this expires in 6 hours. You got to make a decision. Sometimes it's not reasonable, right? But you can do whatever you want as long as all parties agree to it. And here are the escrow instructions, right? Who's responsible for the escrow? Here's some more signatures. Real estate broker's information goes here. Then you've got an inspection advisory. Always, always, always inspect the property. Take a couple of days, a few days to inspect, unless it doesn't matter what kind of condition it's in. Unless it doesn't matter. If the deal is too good to be true, well, they say if it's too good to be true, it usually is. But if the deal makes a lot of sense and it doesn't matter what's wrong with it, then you might want to forego an inspection. And people do this in hot markets all the time, right? I see your inspections, I trust you, we'll go with that. Or it literally doesn't matter what kind of shape it's in. It's making $1 million, $2 million a year. I'm good with it, right? I'm getting it for $1. It's making $1 million a year. It doesn't matter what kind of condition it's in. You know, I'm not gonna get an inspection. Advisory, another advisory. There's a bunch of advisories and disclosures through here. So, and this is the last of it. This is the last page of the California Residential Purchase Agreement. And we just covered all of the most important parts here. And if you have any questions on anything I said or didn't say, don't hesitate to give me a call, shoot me a message. Again, we're gonna go through all of this with a lawyer, so stay tuned for that video. And my name is Matthew Sewell. I'm your real estate plug, and I'm here with you and for you. Peace.